everyone that was, in the corridors, the specialists, even my mother, they called me crazy, stupid. They said that I was overreacting, irrational, and that they're gonna lock me up.
Hey there, my name is Sean, and this is Suicide Noted. On this podcast, I talk with suicide attempt survivors so that we can hear their stories. Every year around the world, millions of people try to take their own lives. We almost never talk about it. We certainly don't talk about it enough. And when we do talk about it, many of us, including me, are not very good at it. So one of my goals with this podcast is to have more conversations and hopefully better conversations with attempt survivors. Now, if you are a suicide attempt survivor and you'd like to talk, please reach out. hello@suicidenoted.com, on Facebook or Twitter @suicidenoted. You can also leave us a recorded message. You can find a link on how to do that in the show notes, as well as some other information, ways you can participate, contribute, get involved. Have a look at all of that. That also includes our membership. We would love that kind of support. We need it as we try our best to share these stories and help more people in more places hopefully feel a little less shitty and a little less alone. If you have been a part of that process as a guest, as somebody who listens, I really appreciate it, and thank you very, very much. Now, keep in mind, we are talking about suicide on this podcast. As we do every week, as the title suggests, we know it's not a good fit for everybody. So take that into account before you listen or as you listen. But I do hope you listen because there is so much to learn. Today, I'm talking with M. M lives in Poland, and she is a suicide attempt survivor. Hello, M. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good.
All right, so you're the first person I'm talking to from Poland, number one.
That's cool. Yeah.
So you're like a groundbreaking here in Poland.
Groundbreaking. Wow.
And you're, what part of Poland?
I mean, I'm in the capital. I'm in Warsaw.
All right. Big echoey room, but you sound good. Now you realize we're not here necessarily to talk about Warsaw, for example.
Yeah, I know. I just have one story from Warsaw that I could share if the opportunity comes up.
I like hearing about people's cities for sure. And I'm sure there's overlap with what we're talking about. That said, how'd you find the podcast?
So it's actually, I think it's really interesting because I was going through a pretty tough time at school like 2 months ago. And then I searched up on Spotify how to stop suicidal thoughts. And your podcast actually came up as the first one. So I know it's quite a long search, but I'm happy it came up. I listened to a few episodes and I sort of went like, oh my gosh, I have a few stories to tell. That would be really cool if I could have that opportunity. Yeah.
Wow. I'm just very interested in how people find it and why they look for these things. And then
I think it's just be, some sort of maybe comfort to them.
Probably. And how old are you?
Yeah, it's cool. I'm 17, so I'm in year 12 at school. I'm writing my finals next year.
17? Is this even, are we in a gray area with consent?
I don't think so. As long as I say yes, I think it's okay. Really.
I don't even know. I mean, we're gonna talk.
As far as I know, the age of consent in Poland is 15. I don't know how it's in the US.
They don't have an age of consent for talking about suicidal thoughts or attempts.
Yeah, but I just thought sort of like sharing it publicly per se, right?
Yeah.
I'm above the age of like rational thinking, I guess. I'm not a kid, right?
Yeah. And you said a couple months ago you had a rough patch. Did you try or have just a lot of thoughts?
Since we're on the topic, I think I started having really bad suicidal thoughts. I think when I was like 12 or something. I have a bit of family stuff going on and that's not really easy to go through. But yeah, I think I was 12 and the first attempt was 14. Yeah. Luckily, my friend called me and it didn't work out. I tried one method and that didn't work. And that sort of made me, reflect on what I actually did. For I think a few weeks, I was really hard on myself. I really thought, wow, that was so stupid. Why did you do that? And then it sort of just went away for a bit. Then it came back up, some not nice thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
That's that. And yeah, a couple of months ago, yeah, just before I found your podcast, was a really bad thing. And actually, that's the event I wanted to talk about. This actually caused me to sort of consider other options because I unfortunately witnessed a suicide on the subway when I was going home from school. So that sort of made me think, there are other options. And obviously I didn't do it, but I think one morning I spent like 10 minutes at a station, just looking at the tracks. And then thankfully I got scared out of it. But that
Mm-hmm.
was something that was really, let's say, challenging to deal with, right? Because I also talked to my dad and I told him like, oh, I saw a dead man in a bag being carried out of the station, right? And I think he said something like, oh, well, shit happens. That's not really something you'd expect to hear from your own father, right?
Let me go back for a second, okay?
Yeah, sure.
And this is a really hard question, but why did you try?
Oh my gosh, yeah, it is a really complicated question, but I
Yeah, I
think it
know.
was because I was quite maybe overwhelmed with what was going on at the time. Because when I was 14, I had to do my high school applications. I just finished primary school. I had bit of a rough patch with my dad because I moved in with my mom for 2 years. Everything was not going on well. That sort of really piled up and made me think that there's no other way of getting out of this. I wouldn't say that the first time I really thought about suicide as the thing, right? I just thought, what if I snapped my fingers and I just wasn't there, right? I wasn't existing.
I wonder how many people would snap if that was an option.
I hope not many. I really do.
Obviously, intentionally chose not to share you said the method.
I mean, I can share it, but I just didn't know if that was something
Oh, you can
appropriate
share.
for the.
We can always take it out if we feel like it might be problematic for people to hear.
Okay, so I think I took 12 or 15 of my mother's prescribed sleeping pills. Weirdly enough, that didn't make me sick, right? I just woke up the next day feeling a bit dizzy for an hour or two, and that was pretty much it. So I think I was really mad at myself that day for like failing.
Do you wish it had worked?
From what I know now, no, because I've had so many new opportunities and so many great moments for the 3 years that have passed since that day. But I think in that exact moment when I was 14, the next day, I really wish it would have worked. But from what I know now, no, totally no.
Okay. And then 2 months ago, you found the podcast after going through a rough patch. And where are you now? How do you feel now?
It's really complicated because let's say today at school I really had some bad thoughts. I wasn't going to act upon it, but it's just challenging to live with it, right? When you constantly doubt yourself and think, oh, what if I actually did go on the tracks? Obviously I'm not going to do it because I'm scared and it's not rational, but it's just hard to constantly try to, push myself out of that zone of thinking black.
Yeah. The whole premise of the podcast, right, is because some people will ask, like, why are we talking? This doesn't happen a lot, but like we're getting into these like details that may not matter. But for me, they do, because there may be people out there who feel similarly. And so I want people to talk about that in as much as they want to, because I'm sure there are other people out there, maybe they'll hear this, who have those same ideas when they're at the subway tracks. So is there something that happens in your life, like daily or weekly, that makes you feel like especially like, fuck this?
I think the thing that really makes me feel dark is any sort of failure. Today I was blamed for something I didn't do, and my friend told me to shut the F up and never talk to her again. So that was one thing. And I think previously it was just, I can't remember. I think it was just not living up to my expectations. I really expect a lot from myself. And whenever I don't accomplish something that I really want to do, I get pretty mad at myself.
Do you think that's common?
I think I do, because, comparing yourself to other people and sort of looking at yourself through the lens of the accomplishments of others, I think it's a strong factor in how people feel and how they come to think of these things.
Right. Did you tell anybody that you're going to be talking with me?
No, I did not. I mean, I think I told one of my good friends that I'm going to be talking on a podcast. And she said, what podcast? Obviously, I didn't have to tell her which one. And
Right.
then she kind of forgot about it. So I don't know if I'm going to mention it to anyone.
You think you'll listen to it?
I don't know. I mean, my friends won't listen to it. I will. I will definitely listen to it, but I'm not planning on telling anyone at the moment. So
Right.
it's just going to be random people who find this, and
Right.
hopefully they find that it helps them.
Yeah. Chances are people that you know aren't going to find it, but you never know. Possible. I mean, I think with this particular topic, more than most, there might be people who that you know who do a similar Google search or podcast search and for this kind of thing because people don't talk about it. So
Maybe.
I mean, I'm not saying I want that for you if that's going to put you in a rough spot. You never know. Did you ever get help for your stuff? Sort of professional help?
That's also a really tough thing to discuss since I'm in Poland. So when I was 14 and I took the sleeping pills, I told one friend. It was the friend who called me that night. And then we got in another argument and she told me that she had leverage on me. So she told a teacher, and then that teacher contacted my mother. My mother is really, not compassionate. I think there's a huge generational gap in Poland between people like me who actually care and understand things about mental health and my parents, so people from like the 70s and 80s who really don't believe in this sort of thing. Yeah, the teacher contacted my mother and then she told me, I think she told me that we're going to go shopping. Yeah, she told me we're going to go shopping. And then instead of going to the shopping center, she took me to a mental health hospital just outside of Warsaw. And I remember, I think halfway through the drive, I realized, we're not going to the city. Where are we going? And she didn't talk to me through the rest of the ride. I cried when I came in there. Yeah, that's the sort of thing I regret, because since she didn't tell me, I was not prepared at all. So I came into the center, I think I just started crying and screaming. That's the other thing I really regret. I didn't tell people how I was feeling, because everyone that was, in the corridors, the specialists, even my mother, they called me crazy, stupid. They said that I was overreacting, and they said that I was irrational and that they're gonna lock me up or something. So that was a really traumatizing experience, and I do not wish that on my worst enemy.
How long were you there for?
I think we stayed there for 2 hours. So I wasn't admitted or anything. I didn't even talk to anyone. So that was a strange thing. My mother drove me all the way there, then made me panic and cry and everything. Nothing came out of it, right?
No, clearly something came out of it. You got traumatized. That's what came out of it.
Nothing positive came
Right.
out of it for me, right?
Well, for you, they might be thinking, we scared her straight. Because what other reason would there be to go someplace for 2 hours and just have people call you those things? Other than, maybe there's another reason. It sounds like, let's just do these things so next time she'll think twice.
Maybe I really don't understand let's say the mental health sort of culture in Poland, because most people just don't accept it. And when you tell them, I'm feeling pretty low, can you help me? They usually just shrug it off and tell you, get away or something. Or they over dramatize the whole situation like my mother did. She didn't even talk to me about that. She just picked me up from school and just went straight to the center. So they don't really do these polls, at least don't do one-on-one talks.
I don't think it's just Poland. I don't know if that helps or hurts. If it makes you feel any better. But I think it's a lot of cultures. So they either don't engage with you at all about it, or they take you to a mental institution outside of Warsaw. There's no in between.
That seems to be the two ways that they deal with these sort of things. I mean, it really depends on your situation, right? Because at least my school, it's pretty open and like liberal. So you can go to any sort of teacher and tell them about your worries and thoughts, and they're not going to do anything. But if even one person over dramatizes the situation and adds even a little detail into it, you're going to get messed up.
Yeah. So the lesson there is don't talk about it.
Yeah, and that's really sad, because, obviously you do really want to talk to people and try to get better, try to finally be happy. But when you get that sort of experience, that when you open to someone, you immediately get, shunned for it, and you get bad consequences.
Yeah.
It doesn't really help with talking to anyone, for that matter.
For sure. I mean, if you've heard the podcast, I can't rank it, but it's right up there for reasons people ultimately do attempt. It's just so ironic, tragically, weirdly, almost absurdly ironic that not talking about it creates more problems. A lot of places in the United States, it's, well, just talk about it. Just talk about it. It's like, it's bullshit. Just talk about it, but you're going to lock me up or shun me or shame me. Mixed messaging.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, since you said you're not sure, in Poland, there's really no messaging. I mean, the things that we get, like when I look on social media, it's like, oh, talk to your friend once a month if they feel bad, right?
It's
And is that
ridiculous.
sort of condition if they feel bad? Do you know if they feel bad? Well, of
Right.
course not, because you don't talk about these things. Even when something happens, like for example, with the thing I witnessed in the subway, they usually report it as ludzie wtargają, which means that people sort of invade the tracks. It literally translates to invade, force oneself onto the tracks. It's never if you feel the same way as that person did, call someone or reach out or anything. They often say, I mean, witnesses, especially in the news, say, why would you do that during the morning or evening rush hours? It's so selfish. Or I think one lady from the report that I witnessed, she said they were just seeking attention.
Mm.
And the most absurd and stupid way you could respond to any sort of question, right? Yeah.
It's astounding. You know, also, I'm going to just backtrack for a second because what you're sharing is just like, unfortunately, it's not surprising, but wow. Talk to your friend once a month if they're feeling whatever the word is, down or sad or one. So you're pointing out that, well, how would I know? Because we don't talk about it. So we would know. I want to add, even if you did know, there's this thinking often I hear where you don't need to learn how to talk about it. There's an assumption that if someone comes to you, you just know how to. And I think that's a huge problem. Even if you reached out to your friend, the idea that they're going to know how to engage you beyond just a platitude or some weird comment that's shitty.
Yeah, I think considering the topic, it's not surprising, but I think the real issue is finding someone you're comfortable enough with to talk about these things and someone who understands how to deal with it. So, for example, yeah, the thing that I also tried a few months ago when I saw that person on the train, I told my friend, I thought I was gonna die last night, and what made me stop was you. Like I thought of you and the moments that I would miss, and she just sort of said, well, why are you telling me this? It's not like I'm going to help you. And then she stopped talking to me. So, even when I emphasized that she's one of the most important people to me, she just slowly backed away and stopped talking to me. I don't understand her.
I don't either. I would think if somebody shared that with me, I'd hope I'd be like almost blown away by their honesty and honored. Really?
Yeah, exactly. I thought she would not necessarily appreciate it, but sort of understand my situation and what she means to me as a friend. But obviously, she didn't get the message.
Wait, did you say you tried a few months ago?
Yeah, unfortunately.
Did we talk about this?
No, but it's not like nothing. Yeah, nothing serious came out of it. But if you want to, I can mention it. Yeah.
Of course, this is part of the podcast.
I don't know if this is good or bad, but in a movie I watched, I saw that a boy hung himself from the doorknob. I was in a really bad place, yeah. And I thought, that might actually work because I have all the materials at home and everything. So I think at first I just tried to learn how to make myself faint, and I succeeded at that. And then one night I just sort of hung a noose around my neck, hung it on the doorknob, and I made myself faint. I remember hitting the floor because I didn't tie it strong enough. So the knot just sort of slipped from the doorknob and I landed on the floor, and then I woke up. And then I think I just went straight to bed. I didn't even cry. And that was the weirdest thing to me, that I didn't show any emotion and I wasn't even true to myself. Because I remember I was really mad, angry, a lot of emotions were going through my head at that moment, but I didn't do anything. So that was really confusing to me. And then the next day I went to school. I told my friend. Obviously, she didn't even try to think about it.
You still friends with that girl?
From 14, no, and from 2 months ago, also no. And that's the really shitty thing about telling people that you tried. Either they understand and they're compassionate, or they just blatantly, turn you away and stop talking to you. These two friends, actually, I have some classes with them, and they act as if nothing happened, and that's the saddest thing.
Well, you said sometimes they do that and sometimes they act with compassion. How many people have you talked about it with that acted compassionately?
Personally, I didn't have that experience, but
Right.
from listening to this podcast, I know that some people do find others who help them and sort of understand them, but that wasn't the case for me.
Yeah.
I think it really depends on the person. Because with the first friend, I thought we had trust between each other. I thought we were really good friends, best friends, let's say. That turned out to be just a big fat lie. And then the other friend, I went to London with her. So I really thought we were the best of friends and everything. And when I told her, honestly, I really expected her to be shocked because I know she's someone who doesn't deal with big changes and big news very well. But I figured since we're best friends, she might understand. But she didn't even try to reason or talk with me. She just, shunned me and didn't really say anything. It's really confusing.
Yeah. So how often these days, let's just say like in the past week, do you think about, let's use the word ideate, really think about not being here?
This week maybe I thought of it once or twice, but it's just because I have a lot of stuff going on and a lot of big decisions to make about my future, like college and stuff like that. I think it just really comes up whenever I have big decisions to do. Because in the past, let's just say I didn't think I would have a bright future. So I sort of had this mindset, even as a kid, I thought, why bother? Why try and get straight A's and be the best person that I know if I don't have a guaranteed future? Because some family stuff was going on. I wasn't really sure of myself. I think I didn't have a strong sense of identity either.
Mm-hmm. So do you have anyone to talk to?
Not really. Right now, no, I don't think so.
Do you know in Poland if do they see therapists?
I think, yes. I mean, some people definitely do. Even my friends go to therapy, but obviously we don't discuss what they talk about. And I imagine you could go, but I don't think I have the courage to, tell my parents. After what my mother did, I cannot tell them, I've been thinking about some stuff and it's mostly because of you. So can you take care of that now? That would be taken very well.
Well, yeah.
I just don't have anyone to trust right now, but I'm hoping that, when I move out to college and I make some new friends and everything, I might get a chance to work through my issues.
I certainly hope so. Is there anything in your life that helps you feel better?
It's really cliche to say that, but I think it's my passion. So I play the violin. I've been playing it since I was like 3 or 4. And that is sort of a good outlet for my emotions because music can convey a multitude of emotions. So whenever I go to my violin lessons, I feel that I sort of get a break from reality, if that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
And also one thing that I've been trying recently, sort of trying to acknowledge these thoughts rather than just trying to run away from them. So, facing them head on and accepting it and sort of thinking like, okay, this is what I have an issue with right now. If I don't fix it, I'm going to feel even more shitty the next day. And if I do consciously try to work through it even on my own, I might feel better the next day. So that's the sort of thing that keeps me going. And also the prospect that I could move out within the next year. So
are you going to stay in Poland for school? Do you know?
No, no way. My dream is because since I have a British citizenship, most of the colleges in the UK are like half off for me. Especially now, it's really hard for people from Poland to go study abroad because it's really expensive. This year, obviously, I'm going to do my applications. And if I get accepted to my dream college, I'm going to move out and hopefully I'll return to Poland because it's not a country that I identify with or that I have any strong connection to. It's just sort of a midway place.
So just to be clear, you don't want to go back to Poland?
No. I know it might be disappointing to some people, but yeah, I would love to stay in London, or
Hmm.
my dream place is Scotland because my cousin lives there. Just it's really pretty and calm. A lot of nature, sort of away from all the issues of home. Yeah.
What's the dream school, or are we going to jinx it?
My dream school is LSE, London School of Economics. I study economics and politics and social studies right now. So I'm hoping I get a 7, which is like an A from all of these subjects. I pass my exams and then I go to college. Obviously, it's not, as straight to the point as I said, but I'm hoping, even though I'm going to have to do it alone, I hope I will manage. Yeah.
Well, are there any myths around this stuff that you want to discuss or dispel?
Okay, I think one myth is that it's a really straightforward path, not in a good sense, but you sort of start feeling depressed, then even worse, and then you attempt suicide and then you die. I found that these things come in waves. You can be really happy one day or one week and be ecstatic with your life and think that you're in the best place ever. And then the next week, even something minor happens, and then you're just on in the lowest of the low, and you cannot seem to pick yourself back up. And that's one myth that I found even within my friend group, right? I haven't told them, but they think that it's a straight path, and it's really not. It's a really complicated and broken up path, if I can say that.
Yeah. Any others?
Okay, so also one thing from what I mentioned before is that you can always see when someone is feeling suicidal or bad. You cannot. I mean, from my experience, I try to put on a mask, like a happy face every day. I go to school, I'm happy, everything's all right. And then when I come home, usually it's okay, but sometimes I feel really stressed and overwhelmed. Absolutely, you cannot tell just by looking at someone or even, talking to them for a bit if they're having these sort of thoughts. You really need to connect with them on a deeper level and gain their trust and not be a shitty person and tell on them to the teachers.
Don't be a shitty person.
Exactly.
Or do your best to not be a shitty person. Well, I just think that some people who we're calling shitty, maybe they think they're doing like the not shitty thing by, for example, telling the authorities. I think that people are defining it. It is complicated.
Maybe. I think that first friend, she didn't even say sorry, obviously, but she said, I thought it was a good thing that I told people so that you would get some help. But the thing is, she didn't realize that the whole system, at least in Poland, is broken, and they sort of stigmatize people who are not feeling normal per se. And I'm not saying that everyone who tells someone is shitty, but you really need to consider each and everyone's individual situation to be sort of able to gauge if you can actually tell anyone, or just sort of ask them, do you want me to tell anyone for your own safety, right?
Yeah, for sure.
And sometimes people just say, I don't want anyone to know about this. And that's okay, because sometimes even telling one of your closest friends is going to help you a lot. I mean, if I get the opportunity to have a new best friend and tell them, I think that might actually help me sort of regain my confidence and sense of self.
Mm-hmm. Wonder what the suicide rate is in Poland.
It's a decline from 2018, but the data is for 2019. But recently, from what I've been seeing on the news, it's been on the rise. So in the whole history of the Polish subway, up until 2 years ago, there have been 5 suicides, but in the past 2 years, it's been 9 cases. It's almost double the number that was established over 20, 30 years, right? So it's really on the rise. And then there's finding people in forest. I think one time I was going to school by bus, and I think a person jumped from their window, and this sort of tarp was set up on the street. I don't know if that was it, but I think that was a possibility. So it's definitely on the rise, and I'm really upset that no one's talking about this, because we could prevent it if we didn't stigmatize this and helped and reached out to people who feel like they don't belong and that they don't want to be here anymore.
You really think that we could prevent it entirely? That's not a fair question. I don't. But I think we could reduce it.
Yeah, I'm not saying entirely, but definitely reduce it,
Mm.
definitely in youth, because that's
Yeah.
been on the rise in Poland.
Yeah, I think approaching youth is a little different, I should say. Yeah, we just don't have honest conversations as a starting point. If you can't do that, I don't think a lot's going to change, but I have strong feelings
Mhm.
about it.
Yeah,
It's not even that people don't know how to talk about it. It's just they don't talk about it. Those are two different things.
yeah, don't talk about it and don't want to, right? So they
And
just push you away.
yeah,
They sort of act as if the problem wasn't there at all. And that's not a good mindset to go about your life with. That you sort of, if you don't see the problem, it's not there.
that's probably not the best way to approach it. Maybe it helps some people. I don't know.
It depends on the person, but definitely, regarding some deeper personal issues, it's not a good way.
Probably true, yeah. Well, I only have a couple more questions, and then you could add anything else you want, because I know you might have written down some notes, so we'll have time if you want to look at them. But here's my question. What are the odds? What's the likelihood that you're going to be around to finish college?
I mean, based on what I know up until today, I think it's a real possibility. I mean, I do struggle sometimes, but I'm sort of trying to push myself, and college is the one thing that's keeping me here because I
Mhm.
dream of just moving out and having a different life, a better life. So I think the odds are almost 100%. I'm saying almost 100% because I have no idea what's going to happen in the future if I'm going to have a big failure or something. But I think they're pretty good right now. I'm feeling better than a couple months ago.
I'm glad to hear that. And the other question I had is, do you like Polish football, soccer?
I'm actually not interested in Polish sports at all, so I know nothing about soccer.
Oh,
No.
you heard of Robert Lewandowski?
Yeah, I did.
Lewandowski.
I don't know if he's huge. I mean, at least in my school, we don't have that many soccer fans. I think he's quite popular with like younger kids.
Oh, interesting. Okay. So, do you have anything else, that you'd like to share?
Okay, so I have one more thing that's sort of, let's say, a side effect
Mhm.
of thinking about suicide. I have real trouble with staying consistent. All right, so like recently, I really wanted to start weightlifting, but I sometimes, that's what I talked about in the beginning. I sometimes feel like, why bother, And also, staying organized is a real challenge. I found that with these sort of things, trying to find one little thing in your day that brings you, joy and sort of repeating that thing or similar things to intentionally be happy or sort of stay at joyful mindset, even for a couple of minutes, it really does help. So, for example, what I do, what brings me joy is putting on my jewelry and getting new piercings. It's not like a coping mechanism, but whenever I feel bad, I sort of, draw out my ears and dot on what I would want to get next. When I move out, I sometimes draw my tattoo ideas. Just finding a couple minutes to really reflect on yourself and your day. Oftentimes, whenever something bad happens, we go into autopilot mode. I think I found that I get really angry and sad really easily. And then I go into overdrive and I cannot seem to find a way out and sort of stay, firstly, honest with myself and then rational. So, really reflecting, deeply reflecting on what you did throughout the day might help some people. And you don't need really specific circumstances to do that. You can just literally before you go to bed, you can just sort of sit and close your eyes and think about what you did and what you were happy with.
Hashtag Warsaw Wisdom.
Warsaw wisdom. Oh my goodness.
Take it, use it, make it your own. Let's
Sure.
go viral.
Yep. Warsaw wisdom. Here we go.
Dropping truth bombs. What else? Anything else?
Oh my gosh. I was supposed to read out some quotes from my suicide letter.
How many suicide notes have you written in your life?
I wouldn't even say one. I think it was less than one because I didn't even finish it because I felt guilty. I don't think I'm gonna find it right now, but the main sort of thing that I had written there was I think the word that I repeated the most was sorry. And the thing is, I don't even know what I was sorry for, right? This was just how I felt at the moment. I think I just wrote some lines of sorry, not sorry. That was one thing. And another thing was I hope you're all happy and you can try to overcome this loss. So I think in that moment, I was really thinking more about the people around me than about myself.
Yeah. Sorry, not sorry. Sorry.
It was constantly like, sorry, sorry, sorry for what I did. Sorry for what you're going to have to go through and everything. Looking at it from this perspective, right? After I thankfully didn't get to finish it, it's just plain sad that I blamed myself for everything and sort of tried to tell people that, this is all my fault and you're going to have to struggle. I hope nobody has to think that way.
Yeah. If you were making a book title for your life, I think Sorry Not Sorry might be the book title.
Really?
I mean, you decide. I'm just saying that's not a bad one.
It's quite philosophical when you think about it.
Sure. Well, listen, I hope your project goes well.
Yeah, thank you.
Of course. And I thank you for connecting with me and talking with me. I appreciate it.
I'm really glad I did.
Hope your evening is decent in Poland, and yeah, thanks.
Thank you so much. Hope you have a good day.
Thanks. Bye.
Thank you.
As always, thanks so much for listening and all of your support. Special thanks to M in Poland. Thank you, M. If you are a suicide attempt survivor and you'd like to talk, please reach out. hello@suicidenoted.com, on Facebook or Twitter @suicidenoted. As always, check the show notes for all kinds of other ways you can get involved and participate, including our membership. And should you listen on Apple Podcasts, please rate and review Suicide Noted. It helps people find it, and we want people to find it. Thank you for that. And that is all for episode number 170. Stay strong. Do the best you can. I'll talk to you soon.